Medicine with the Metals. And today I have Joe Walters, becoming a really good friend of me and Michelle's and of the plant medicine community. He's out there a lot. He's doing his due diligence, and he's doing what we all want to do, and that's just improve our mental health every day. So, Joe, how are you today, brother?
Good. Great to be here again, Mark. Number two for us, and I'm sure the second of many. So happy to be here. How about
Yes.
yourself? How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good today. I love doing this. I have a passion about this, and I like educating and informing people. I just do.
Yeah, I resonate with that passion.
hmm So let's talk today, Joe. You do a lot of things in this community, and foremost and forefront, you're out to show people there is a better way, a better path. We've all lost our different tools, and I think what you do is you give people tools.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Tools are big, and alongside the tools, it's like how to wield them too, right? Because there's so many tools out there. There's the breath works, there's the meditations, there's discipline, there's so many things. And really what I'm coming into more and more is like, how do we have the tools? Then also how do we implement them in like a loving way, in a way that we can flow, in a way that that feels good to us, right? Especially in the world of like personal development, personal growth. There could be some gray waters where like, it's all about push, push, push. And like, if you're always healing, you're always healing, right? At like what point, like we're always growing and evolving, right? But at what point
hmm
are we coming from that place of self-love and the thing that comes up to me and the lesson that's come up time and time again is you can never hate yourself into a version of yourself that you love. And this is a lesson that I ran through in cycles for 35 years that I'm finally really moving and evolving through. So, you bring up the tools. I just wanted to touch upon that. And I think we'll dive into that a little bit deeper. But yeah, man,
Sure.
and again, touching on the tools, there's so many things out there. And there's, the one thing I guess I want to press upon for this portion is that there's no right or wrong. There's no answer
hmm
that's like this is it. Just because I maybe do cold plunges and breath work and journaling, maybe that's not your thing. Maybe journaling works, maybe
Right.
it doesn't work, right? Like it's
Yep.
unique to each individual. And for even for seasons of our life, there's some times where
hmm
I have to be journaling every day. There's other times where I'm not doing as much journaling. Maybe that time is better spent into other things in that season. So, I think it's so important to have the flexibility because when we have a lot of rigidity, it leads to falling off. It leads to having
Yep.
guilt. It leads to a lot of things that can get very messy.
Yeah, it just leads to negativity because there is no perfection to any path. It's just, in the beginning of this path, I always used to say, am I doing it right? Is this right? Is this okay? Yes or no? And really, everybody, people that were really, I just call it the path. The path of healing is more why I call it the path. But, most of these people would say, it just is. It just is. So that's the biggest takeaway I've learned, that really just is because there are no good, there is no bad. It just is.
Yep. Yeah. And then when it comes to the plant medicine path specifically, I remember my journey, especially in the beginning. I was a couple years in. I had a lot of ceremonies under my belt. I was doing a lot of heavy lifting with a lot of baggage from the rear. And I remember I used to say, I'm like, okay, like this next thing, that next trip, I'll get that next realization that'll be the one and I'll be different, right? I was always chasing that
Mhm.
one experience. And while I had certain experiences where I can really put a finger on and be like, okay, I leveled up like 10 levels on that one. There was
Mhm.
never the one that was just the everything's changed and I'm a completely different person. And
Right.
it's the evolution I'm still going through. So I kind of chase
Yep.
that rabbit a little bit. And again, not to say that you can't have an extremely transformational experience that you have to integrate and incorporate. You can
Mhm.
have those, but there's still going to be shadows. There's still going to be things that you're learning and evolving through.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you use the word evolve. I use the word evolve. I got it on my arm, evolve, because I think that's what we do. I think, most of the world right now doesn't evolve. We stay stuck. I think what this path and plant medicines and just these different modalities have taught me is we got to keep growing, we got to keep evolving, or we're just gonna stay. And I don't like staying anymore. I like keep growing and evolving. doing things, even if it's just things that are things. We're just evolving, you know?
Yeah. And I love the word evolve. I'm all about words. I think it's so important, the words you decide to use in everything. And,
Hmm.
if we say we're healing, right, that what's that imply? You can only heal when you're damaged. If you're
Yeah.
evolving, you don't necessarily have to be damaged to be evolving. You're just evolving into that greater iteration. I'll use a silly reference. I mean, I was a huge Pokemon fan back in the day. And what would the
Yeah.
Pokemon do? They would evolve, right? There was nothing wrong with them, but there was just greater versions of them that they could become. And there was two, three, four, five, or six of them. I don't remember now, but that's why I really love
Well,
the word evolution.
yeah, it is a good word, and it's a good song too, Evolution. It's one of my best songs when I was in those journeys. So, this month has been like Men's Month, and we've talked a lot about it with men and veterans, and people coming out of, just men in general becoming more in tune with themselves. And I'm not saying in tune with feelings and this, but just in tune with who they are. I mean, who are we? And men are starting, I see, for the most part, I see a lot more men coming out, and it's really cool. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we definitely have hit such a turning point. You look around, there's so many men's groups, the Rising Man, the Modern Renaissance Man. There's
Mhm.
so many of these groups coming, and to be honest, there can't be enough of them. And growing up, I can definitely remember and recall sacrificing so much of who I was to fit in, to be who I thought I should be instead of actually being who I was. And a lot of it's defense, a lot of it's safety. There's so much that goes into that, and we lose sight of so much. I for most of my life I chased dreams, aspirations, and wants and desires of other people, which led to why I hit a breaking point in my life, and why
Yeah.
so many men do. But I think the narrative's really changing around mental health. I mean, so many people I talk about being in therapy or having a coach or something along those lines, and it's like more
Mhm.
than not, honestly. And I every time I hear it, I'm like, great, you're
Yep.
seeing a therapist, you have a coach, that's fantastic, you're getting support,
Mhm.
you're opening up. And again, with these men's groups, like, I've definitely found myself even recently finding a place of comfort in doing the work alone. But the more I put myself in a community, the more I'm fully seen by others, the more that others hold that mirror in front of me, my growth amplifies 10, 20, 50, 100x. And there's just so much importance to that. And vulnerability is the superpower. It just fully is.
Yeah.
And those who think that vulnerability is weakness, they just don't truly have that full comprehension. And there's a lot of projection there. But I think it's beautiful. I think we've come a long way. I think we have a long way to go, especially in the veteran community. They're a hard bunch to get into. There's a
Mhm.
there's a lot of resistance there to get through. But underneath that, there's a lot of beauty, and I've seen a lot of transformation. And it's some of the veterans doing some of the biggest work in breath work and yoga, and I see that too. So again, we've come far. We still have a long way to go too.
Yeah, we definitely have a long way to go. I mean, most of us went from child to adult, as a man, we just boom, boom. So I think when it comes down to it, we got to go revisit that child again and become friends with buddies again. And, you know, I think that was important for me, to find that person again, that kid we lost, because for me, I went from this to this, I had no chance to be a real child. So, and I think that's where a lot of men are, stay tough, do this. I mean, from when we are conceived, we are kind of sexually traumatized with circumcisions, but that's a subject for a different matter. But there is a lot of trauma in men's life from the very beginning, and we just never knew how to adjust or cope with it. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're dead on. And you kind of brought up, so I'll talk about it a little bit because I just did my rites of passage ceremony that I did. I'm about a month out now. And that's another thing that was if you go to any person in the world, one of your ancestors did a rites of passage ceremony. It was this initiation from going into boyhood or girlhood into womanhood or manhood. And it was,
Hmm.
growing up, it's about me. You're learning, you're discovering the world, you're discovering your beliefs. But then as you grow up, comes a time, especially in the hunter-gatherer times, where it was time to understand your purpose in society, how you were going to be giving back, how you fit into the fabric of that society moving forward. And over the years, we've lost those initiations. College, kind of fraternity, there's like a version of that there. The military, you can definitely say, is some type of initiation, but there's definitely a lot missing on the back end of that, for sure. And there's different
What I
types.
know, I mean, you said both of those things, colleges, the military, but what do we indoctrinate that with? We indoctrinate that with alcohol while we're
Exactly.
going through those times. So it's not really doing us justice. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No,
That's
go ahead. It's a great
yeah,
point, a valid point.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
alcohol.
so while the frame is kind of there, those toxic behaviors that are incorporated with it lead to some pretty nasty things. The one I
Hmm.
got to do recently was I spent 8 days in the woods. So I went 8 days with 12 men. 4 of the men were guides, no technology, and then 4 of the days out there was in isolation. So we separated from the group. We spent 4 days out there intentionally fasting. So there was no food, just a gallon of water a day. We had our journal. We had no tents, just a hammock and a sleeping bag, and that was a really profound experience. Think about right now. When was the last time you didn't have your phone on you for 8 days,
I know.
even 4 days?
Truth.
You didn't talk to a human or even a
Hmm.
dog. Like I didn't have my dog for 4 days. It was
Yeah.
so profound, and I'm not going to get. I don't have the time to get in the depths of it today. I actually just recorded a podcast today on my podcast about it. So if you want to hear more,
Perfect.
they could go to that. Um,
Hmm.
but it was so crazy because the integration circles and this experience, we had calls leading up for preparation, the experience, and we had 2 months of integration and incorporation calls. See the similarities there with the plant medicine
Hmm.
space?
Definitely. Definitely.
The fireside talks of what these men went through, embodied the realizations they had. I could have been in an ayahuasca ceremony. It was that
Mm.
level of profound development. Now, the guides definitely understood mental health and they guided conversations to lead in so that we were going in, we knew what we were looking to embody, looking ready to release, but then it fostered and created this situation where the experience just blew us all open in fantastic ways. So just know, yeah, as you said before, the plant medicine is not a phenomenal tool, but there's also other avenues, other ways to have these rites of passage, to have these initiations that are going to continue to go on, throughout our life.
Yeah, I think it boils down to introspectives because I mean, sitting there for 8 days with no food or no water, I think you're definitely introspecting a lot of things, a lot, especially when we're in the medicines. I mean, we're introspecting. All these medicines are just, it's kind of even breath work or meditation. It's all getting to know who you are because you are me, me are you. We're all one. It's kind of corny, but makes sense. We're all a DNA of some sort and it all comes from one. So, but that's further down the line. We are where we are today in the moment. So we got to do what we have to do. And, we're kind of broken in this today's society. And I think more and more platforms and more people they really want to find a way to feel good and to heal and to not, and to just feel good, you know? We don't feel
Yeah.
good no more. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big thing
Yeah.
for me that's been coming up lately that I kind of just feel called to touch upon is
Sure.
the concept of discipline, especially coming from the military. I got a lot of discipline instilled, and discipline got me really far. And I'm really coming to this stage in my journey where I say that I'm transcending discipline because there's a big sector out there of people that I really have inspired me that I still listen to. And, I don't know if you may have heard the David Goggins and the Andy Frisellas, the guys that are push, push, push and shut up the inner bitch. And like there's a lot that they talk about that, with the discipline and, disciplining yourself, making your bed in the morning, doing uncomfortable things. There's great in that. But when they talk about quieting the inner bitch and those toxic things, that's not the way to your sustained success. Discipline is a powerful thing, but what I'm coming to learn is there's a deeper level beyond discipline. And I love this word. It hits me so deep. And that's devotion. I have found that the more that I embody devotion, the less I even resonate with the word discipline or feel like I need it. So, for example, right now I'm training for a half Ironman. So I'm doing a triathlon, and it takes a lot of work, daily work, physical work, doing running, biking, swimming. And you would think I would
Mm.
need to be disciplined to do this. And I do
Right.
need to be, but it doesn't feel from an energetic space like I have to discipline myself to go, because I am devoted to my future. I am devoted to inspiring other people. And it comes from
Yeah.
this purity where it's not like, okay, wake up, lazy ass, because I use that.
Hmm.
I use that self deprecation. And guess what? I always hit a wall. And we cannot come to this place of wholeness by rejecting parts of us. So if a part of you doesn't want to work out, invite them to the table. Why are you here? Why don't you want to work out? How can we come to an agreement? How can we do what's best for us while satisfying all parts of us? Yes, there's going to come times where we have to push through, and there's going to be resistance. And honestly, the resistance is the way. But this is just such a thing that's at the front of my heart, because I lived it. I tried to do it. I pounded through, and I would make a lot of progress, and then I'd fall off. I'd make a lot of progress, and I'd fall off. And it was exhausting. So it's something I'm really looking to work with my clients so much more on, and just talk more about, because the hustle, the grind, think of hustle and grind. What's grinding?
Hmm.
You're creating friction, you're creating
Right.
tension, things break.
Hmm.
So it's not about grinding. And again, back to the verbiage, right? If you say, oh, I'm going to hustle and grind, you're creating that in you. So it's about flow, it's about harmony, it's about balance. And that's really what
Yeah.
I'm continuing to evolve into, continuing to learn about, and something I'm really passionate about. So I just wanted to share that little piece for today.
Yeah, but it's so important, that balance. That balance is so, I mean, the balance in anything, no matter what we do, that balance is just, it's what we need. Because no matter, even if we have that passion for something, and you're getting to know me a little well, I still have this balance where, I want to do so many things, but I know if we have to do so many things, I won't get nothing done. So let's do a balance. Let's do the things that are important. There has to be a balance. And teaching people that is great, because we don't know how to do it. We just don't.
Yeah. Yep. Sometimes we feel like we need permission. Some others feel
Yes.
like other people need to give us permission, but ultimately we have to give ourselves that permission, and understand counterintuitively that sometimes slowing the heck down, taking the rest, amplifies productivity, and then you get to your end goal even quicker, even though you feel like you're doing less. It's
Yeah.
interesting, but it definitely works like that.
It is. It is. It's very interesting, isn't it? Well, we all learn these new habits, because we've been told something different for so long by society, by everything in general. The grind, the do this, the work hard, work hard for what at the end of the day? Work hard for what? Work smart, work easy. I mean, enjoy what you do. Have a passion for what you do. You know, the more you do what you enjoy to do, the more life will be so happy, so comfortable and so meaningful, and we have these great stellar moments in our life, like you said, we escalate and we escalate, and sometimes we do fall down, but I think we create these pillars, and these pillars create the next pillar, and we just move, and we evolve. We evolve.
We evolve. Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I completely honor too. There's going to be times where we're more in a quote unquote hustle mode, right? There's going to be some times in life where you're working a little bit extra, you're putting the extra hours in, you have to take more of that aligned action in certain areas. Especially if maybe you're working a job right now that you really don't isn't fully aligned with you, and you're trying to take off full time with your side business. You may have to work that full-time job or part-time job while building on the back end. And it's going to take a little bit of weekend work and nighttime work. So we're not saying that you're not going to have to put in the work, put in, I'll say the aligned action, if we're going to keep with the verbiage here, right? The inspired aligned action. You may have to take more of that. I'm in a season of it right now. I still do bartending on weekends. Not what I completely want to be doing, but it's allowing me the space to A, connect with people, and B, fully step into my purpose the way that I really want to be. So it's not about, just throwing everything up and saying, I'm going to work 2 hours a day, because you also do have to put in the action. We're
Yeah.
just saying to just continue to remember and come back and just have that self-awareness and understand when it's time to rest. Listen to your body, because it's really important.
I love that you know that you're separating that too. You know you have to go do this for a couple hours a day, but it's just what you have to do because you know where the importance is really going at the end of the day. You
Yeah.
know, it's isn't that so forgiving for yourself once you get to this point where you can actually say, I don't need this. I mean, for me, I can't right now. I don't need this daily grind, this 9 to 5. Like, you know, I've learned to accept that society has taught us something so different. You know, we can create things our own. We can create things on ourselves. And, it's pretty cool to do what you like to do, no matter what it is. If you like to bartend, create the best bar you can, but at least you evolve, at least create. We've lost that passion. Most of us have.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, I sit here, I say this, and there's still times where I get it. I'm like, oh, this sucks. I don't want to be here. But again, I'd come back into the awareness, and I'm like, wait,
Mhm.
I'm not perfect. I haven't hit this point where I'm like, I just realize it all and I'm embodied. For the most part, I enjoy myself. It's great, but sometimes I have crappy nights, and I get a little self-defeating, or I really don't look forward to going into the next day. But you know what? Ultimately, I have to be there anyway, or I get to be there anyway. So I get to do it with that negative outlook, or I get to do it and enjoy myself and enjoy time with the coworkers and the conversations I had. So again, I'm not perfect all the time, but I know to come back to that. I have that in the back pocket. That's like, okay, here's your reminder. And I think it comes back to the why. Why are you doing what you do? The why is more important than the how. You get any person development, like Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, they're going to talk about the why, and the why is an important thing to connect to. An intrinsic why, that deep why, that why that serves.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty important. And that's really when you find that why, you'll know why. You know, it's really profound when you find it. I mean, I definitely have found my why in life, and I think you have too. And, I think as men also is what we do is we bring an importance to the space, no matter what it is. If it's healing through medicines, if it's healing through modalities, if it's healing through anything, I think people look at us, and they might say, whatever they say, who cares? But there's something there that's going to inspire them to kind of change. It's all about that uncomfortability, like you said. Being uncomfortable is where you make these changes, you know, definitely is.
Absolutely. Like you said, you're gonna rise up, we're gonna hit plateau, rise up, hit plateau. It's a never ending cycle, and it's what gives that, again, that balance. It gives that contrast, right? It's not just a straight ride. It's you're gonna have ups, you're gonna have not even downs, ups, plateaus. It's just it's a part of the journey, it's a part of the path, and yeah, you will be challenged. The challenge is the way, and I think
Yeah.
it's the most profound thing that I've changed in my life in the past year. Discomfort. Really, obviously military, going through that, and I was
Yep.
into like skydiving and cliff. So I've always kind of liked the edgy stuff, and I think men do kind of, for the most part, lean towards the edgy stuff. Um, but even this past year, even like coal plunging, I'll give for an example, that changed me in such a way, because no matter how many times I did this act, no matter how good it made me feel, how much I knew it was benefiting me, my mind every time beforehand was like, this sucks for not doing this. There was times where I'd be like, okay, time to plunge. And I would like start walking around the house. I'm changing the cat's litter. You watch the mind do everything it can to avoid discomfort. And I think I did a 90-day challenge where I did it every single day for 90 days in the cold, in the winter, breaking ice off the top. And that really started to reorient my brain's relationship to pain and challenge, that then transferred into all other areas of life. Challenging conversation, challenging phone call, challenging thing at work, whatever it was. Now my brain's like, oh, we have to go in. It's actually become a pattern now. So when I see a challenge or a resistance come up in me, instead of going, I need to go that way, I go straight into it. Maybe not immediately, but I recognize immediately, oh, I need to go in. And I got to say, that is the biggest change I have experienced. And it affects every area of my life. So I'm not saying you have to do cold plunges, whatever a challenge may look like for you. Maybe it's calling
Understood.
someone once a day, sending a text once a day, whatever is walking around the block once a day, whatever is that level of challenge for you. If you can sit there and say, the mind saying, I don't want to do this, and you're saying, okay, I get it, this is uncomfortable, this is good for us, we're going to do it anyway, you're fortifying one of the strongest muscles you'll ever wield in your arsenal.
Mm. That's pretty good stuff, ain't it?
Yeah.
It's pretty good stuff. Yeah. You know, I mean, Joe, you have a powerful voice, you have a powerful way, and I like the fact that you're just real, man. You're just a real dude. And it's really cool that there are real dudes out there. There are real guys like me and you and Carlos today, and just these veterans out there that are just, that we're just looking for a better way. That's all. So tell me a little bit before we go. Positive veterans, what do you do there?
Yeah, so for the positive veteran, for coaching, I do, as you see on the bottom, it says peak performance and mindset coaching. So I do a lot with clients around that, around self-talk, about the way they view themselves, their future, really helping them get into that why, get them into that heart space, out of the head into the heart, and begin to build that vision of the future, and then understand what are the things that are preventing them from getting to there or being there right now, and then being that support system, being that mirror, and just allowing them to come into their deeper truths. What I always like to say is, whether it's a podcast, a coaching client, whatever it is, I am not here to tell you what to think, believe, do, anything like that. I just want my words to allow you to come to your truth in a more deep fashion. So if what I say doesn't you don't agree with, and it actually brings you deeper into to your truth, then I've won. That's all I aim to do with my clients. And actually, more recently, I've been super passionate about diet, fitness, and nutrition. And I'm really looking to incorporate that more into my work, because I think it's the foundation. The vehicle is the foundation that's bringing us to these destinations, right? So I'm finishing my personal training license right now. I'm going to be done with that this week. My certified nutritionist. I've been self-taught kind of in that for the past few years, a lot of books, a lot of podcasts. So really looking to create this integrated approach where I can really help people design a fitness program, nutrition program, and mindset program that really allows them to become superhuman. Because let me tell you, when you're locked in on all those and you're following your purpose, you are
Mhm.
superhuman. So
Yeah,
that's
you
really the
definitely
big
are.
that I do. And then aside from that, I'm doing more in-person work, men's retreats, men's group meetups. I'm actually hosting my first men's group fireside circle this Sunday with about half a dozen men. We're going to have some intentional conversations. And on the front of that, I'm going to be starting a men's group. I may be partnering with another group or starting my own. So a couple of things in the works, but a lot more men's work, a lot more in-person work coming on the back end as well.
Just a couple of things. It sounds like you're doing a lot of good things. You know, you know, gut health is so very important. That's probably going to be our next subject. Let's talk about that next time. But it's so very important when we start eating healthy. I notice a total lack of self when I start eating unhealthy, it's noticeable. It definitely is. So totally important, especially on this path. It teaches you a lot. I think gut health is more important than brain health. I think there's where your chemistry is. There's where your love is. There's where so much is right there. So, but that's for next time, my friend.
Yes, I have a great friend that would be a great person to be on that conversation with us. So you nailed it though.
Why do
Gut.
we do that? Why do we talk? Because it's so very, very important how that brain works. Like, so important.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Why do you think we do dietas for plant medicine ceremonies?
So important. Well, that's where all the I mean, that's your purging from plant medicines. That's where your trauma lies. That's where your trauma lies. No doubt about it. You clear that energetically, you're onto a get that slate clean and then fill it with good stuff.
Yep, absolutely.
Fill, fill it with good stuff. Well, my friend, have a beautiful day.
Awesome, Mark. This has been great. Thanks for having me on. And until the next
Thanks.
time.
We're going to do this again. And what are we going to talk about next time? Gut health.
Awesome. I look forward to the
All right,
sequel.
my friend.
All right. See
Have
you,
a good
Mark.
day.
You too.
Ciao.